Hey, daughters and friends, this is Minister Ernest James coming to you once again. Again, I am the friend to fatherless daughters. I am a fatherless daughter advocate. I am a minister. I am a male mentor, among other things. But what I'm here today to talk about again with you all is helping you to heal and deal with daddy issues in your everyday life, and more specifically in relationships. However, we haven't got to the relationship part yet because I want to take my time and kind of walk with you through this, because there are some things that we have to go through to deal with before we even talk about relationships, right? So as I started from the beginning, if you haven't watched the other videos that I posted, please go back and watch them. My first video was basically introducing myself. The second video was pretty much talking about just the importance of having a father figure in your life, whether it's a father, biological father, stepfather, mentor, whoever, but the importance of having a father figure in your life, right? The third video, we dealt with choosing a father figure, right? So there were several things that I recommend that you look for when considering gentlemen to be a father figure for you. First of all, that look for someone who's in position to lead you. So that would be a father, stepfather, uncle, someone like that. And then if that's not available to you, as far as family-wise, then look outside of your family, and that would be a pastor, a minister, a mentor, a teacher, a professor, someone like that who's already in the position of leading people or teaching people, right? So that's number one. Number two was check his character. Make sure he has the characteristics of a person that should be leading you, that's qualified to lead you, right? Or who you will want to lead you. So that's number two. Number three was make sure that he's up for the responsibility of being a father figure to you, right? So those videos, and those videos I kind of went more in depth with it. If you have not watched them, please go back and watch those, because I'm doing each video sort of a step by step, right, as we go forward into the daddy-daughter relationship, and then the transference from daddy-daughter to daddy and husband, should I say, right? Because there's a transference. Forgive me if I said that word wrong. There's a transfer of responsibility that goes from your father to your husband. And we'll get more into that later as we get into relationships further down the road. So after we talked about the things that you should look for in a mentor, the next thing we talked about was the possibility, if the opportunity arises, for you to make amends with your biological father. It was a part one and a part two, right? So the part one is the things that you need to do personally before you even approach the thought of or approach your father, your biological father, to either reconnect with him, right? There are some things that you need to do. And the second part was after you've done the first part, which is work on the things that you need to work on personally before opening that door. Once you do those things and you open that door, there was 4 steps to go through, or 4 steps to consider when you actually reconnect with your biological father, right? So now this in the natural progression of things, now that we've established the importance of having a father or father figure in your life, we've looked for that father figure and the criteria that we wanted to make sure that he's qualified to be a father figure in your life. And if that father happens to be, or that father figure happens to be your biological father, which you are reconnecting with, right? So now that we've went on that progression to get to this point. This point that we're at now is what actually is it that you should look for from your father, right? Or father figure. What is it actually that you should look for, right? So a father in his relationship with his daughter, I've broken it down to what I call the core four, right? Which is 4 things that every daughter should look for from her father, should receive from her father or father figure when that father is not present, right? So it's 4 things. So those 4 things is guidance, love and affection, affirmation, and protection. Again, that's guidance, love and affection, affirmation, and protection. So when we talk about guidance, what we talk about is someone who's going to, or your father should come in with the guidance, which is basically teaching you right from wrong, right? That's the basis of it. The basis is teaching you right from wrong and the things that you should know about dealing with men, and even the things that men do or should do in your life. So there is a role that a man should play, right? Because you're going to be dealing with men all of your life. So especially when you get to talking about getting to know a man intimately, right? And relationship wise, there are some things and there are some characteristics that you need to know about, right? And so that's where the guidance comes in, with your father teaching you those things, and not just about relationships, but just in everyday things, right? So sometimes it's not just right from wrong, but sometimes it's about good and better and best, should I say, right? So one example would be if my daughter was going to buy a car, or if my daughter wanted to buy a car, then if she came to me and said, Dad, I want to buy this car, I'm saving my money up so I can buy this car to have a good down payment, right? That's a good idea, right? That's a very good idea. But as her father, it's not only my position to lead her to know right from wrong or good from bad, but also from better to best. So that's a good idea that she would want to save her money to have a good down payment when she goes to buy her first car. But it would be my job to say, wait a minute, honey, yes, that's a good idea, but how about let's work on your credit and get your credit up to par where you don't have to have any down payment, right? So that's where the guidance comes in. Just not just in Pacific where it deals with men, but just in life in general, right? So that's the guidance. The second one would be love and affection. Now, love and affection is touchy because girls by nature are emotional, right? So you want to build a foundation. Your father should want to build a foundation of love with their daughters, right? You should show them physical love, which is hug them and kiss them and let them know that they're loved, right? You should show them, shower them with affection, right? So that they are familiar with what that is. And therefore, when they go out into the world, they already know what it feels like to be loved and what it feels like to receive love and affection from a male, so that they're not misled when they get out into the world, right? So your father should build that foundation of love and affection with you also. So the third one is affirmation. Affirmation. And affirmation is affirming the things that you already should know about yourself. And this is where your foundation of self-esteem comes from, right? This is where your father builds you up, letting you know that you're beautiful, letting you know that you're pretty, letting you know that you're smart, letting you know that you're special, right? this is where he builds up on that, so that he raises his daughter up, her self-esteem and her self-worth and her knowledge of self, so that again, when she goes out into this world, she's not misled when Lil John comes and try to tell her differently. When Lil John comes and try to tell her she's not pretty and she's not smart, she can say, no, my daddy told me that I was. And because you've already built that in her as a young lady, as she grows, that grows with her also, right? So the last thing that we want to talk about, that a father should instill in his daughters, is protection, right? So when we talk about protection, generally people think about physical protection, right? Which means, somebody bothering me, I'm gonna go get my daddy, and my daddy gonna go beat him up, my daddy gonna take care of us. So yeah, that plays a part. But when I talk about protection in this sense, I think more of a better word is your daughter don't necessarily want to feel protection in the physical sense, but she should feel safe, right? So what a father should provide, not just protection, but safety. So safety, which means he should provide a place for her to feel safe in whatever it is that she's going through, right? Whatever it is that she's dealing with, whether it's her emotions, whether it's something at school, whether it's something dealing with, her friends, or whatever that she's going through, you should provide, or he should provide, a safe place for her to be able to express herself in whatever that she's dealing with, right? So this is very important, because as you grow older, if you're not giving the opportunity to feel safe when you're expressing or when you're dealing with your emotions, because you are an emotional creature by nature, then you'll withhold that stuff and you'll hold that in. So then you'll find it difficult to tell someone or communicate with a male or your male friends or your husband, further down the line, what it is that you're actually feeling, or you'll feel safe in doing that. So even if it's not a issue that you don't know how to communicate what you're feeling and what you're dealing with, you may be afraid to do it because you never had that foundation of your father building that safe place with you to be vulnerable with a man, to be able to open up and tell him how you feel and how you think without fear of being judged, without fear of being, talked about or talked down or just dismissed, right? So those are the core four that a father should teach his daughter, right? That your daughter should receive from her father or from your father figure, right? So again, that's guidance, which is not simply right from wrong, you know what I'm saying, but it's also just daily things that you should know about life in general, and then some even more specific things that you may need to know in case he's not around, right? Or you don't have a male in your life to do some things for you, like change a tire or check your own oil or things like that, that typically would be a man's job or a man's place to do it. But if that man is not around, then that is something that your father would also teach you how to do, so that you can do it on your own without having to depend on a man and necessarily, having to go without if that man is not around, right? So that's guidance. The second one is love and affection, which we talked about, being able to encourage and love your daughters, love on your daughters, let them know that you love them, let them know that, they are loved, that they are the apple of your eye, that they are beautiful, right? So that, the physical love of holding them, wiping their tears when they cry, you know what I'm saying, telling them a joke to make them laugh, all the emotional parts that plays within a woman's psyche or a daughter's psyche. That love and affection is where your father would nurture that part of your personality, right? So then we talk about, again, affirmation, And affirmation would be affirming those things that you should know and feel about yourself, right? You are beautiful. You are special. You are smart. You know what I'm saying? You do have beautiful skin. You do have beautiful hair. You do have, whatever it is about you, the characteristics that's about you that builds your self-knowledge, self-awareness, and self-worth. That's where the affirmation comes in. So not only does he tell you what you should already know about yourself, but as he tells you and builds you up and you begin to believe those things and recognize those things in your life, then it's harder for little John once again to come against you and try to put you down and tell you some things that's not true about yourself, because your father has already built you up to know I am special, I am beautiful, I am a queen, I am a princess, and I should be treated as such. And once you have that foundation has been built, then it's hard for any man to come against you, and it's hard for any man to come against you and try to tear you down in that sense, right? So that's one. And the fourth thing we talk about was protection or safety, which was a better word, was building that environment of safety, not only physical safety, but emotional safety, where it's safe for you to go through and to feel and to build on whatever that you're dealing with, to be able to be vulnerable, to open yourself up and communicate with a male with how you're feeling, right? And feel free to do so and not afraid to do so and not, holding back your emotions. So those are the core four, and it's very important that we recognize those, right, as the core four, because as we go further along, when we get into relationships, we have to recognize that those core four that you look for from your father, once you find your husband, then those core four transfers from your father to your husband. So it's no longer your father, or should I say no longer only your father or father figure's job to provide those core four, but now it becomes your man or your husband's job first, primarily, to provide those core four. And when we get further along, talking about your male friends and what we call fillers, it's very important that you understand that transference of the core four has to go to your husband or your man once you find him, right? Because if you don't, that's going to cause you problems in your relationship down the line. And we'll get more into that, like I said, as we deal with relationships specifically, and how, daddy issues affect that. So that's very important. So those are the core four. On the next one, we'll talk about the opposite of the core four, because if you don't have a clear understanding of what the core four is, and you have not received that from your father or father figure, then you have a warped sense of what those are and what they should look like. So when you begin to look for them in other men and other people, you kind of receive them the wrong way. But we'll get further more into that on our next one, which is this one will be the core four. The next one will be the opposite of the core four that you end up receiving when you don't have a clear understanding, or you don't have the clear foundation of what it is that your father should be providing for you. So if there's any comments, if there are any questions, please put them in the comments. Please leave them below. I definitely will address them and bring them up. And even, we can dive a little more into what it actually means more specifically. Even with the core four, we can dive more into them, each one, and probably deal with each one of them on their own broadcast by itself. And I'm also thinking about going live as my audience grows and I see the need for it, then maybe we'll start having some of these conversations live. That way I can get your feedback right away and address some of your questions and concerns at that time. Again, this is Minister James. Thank you so very much for allowing me to walk with you during this journey of healing as we deal with fatherlessness and daddy issues and how they affect your life and your relationship and healing from them all together. So again, this is Minister James. I love you. I'm praying for you. I'm your friend to fatherless daughters, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. All right? God bless.